My brother asked me for money for medical treatment, but he spent it on a PlayStation, a new phone, and a vacation with his girlfriend. When your younger brother tells you he's sick, you don't ask questions. You don't ask for a diagnosis, a scan, a referral. You just send the money. That's what I did. It started with a message late at night. Just 3 words. Can you talk? No emojis, no follow up. Just that. And even through a screen, I felt something off about it. I went out onto my balcony and called him. I didn't know what to expect. He picked up fast. His voice was low and hoarse like he hadn't spoken in hours. He didn't even say hi. He said he wasn't feeling right, hadn't been for a while. Headaches that made his vision blur, constant nausea, weakness in his hands. Said it started a couple weeks ago but had gotten worse quickly. He finally went to urgent care and they told him it might be neurological. They wanted to run a few advanced tests, CT, MRI, blood work, the works. I asked him if he was still at the hospital. He said no. They'd sent him home. He sounded embarrassed. Said insurance was being slow about pre-approvals and some of the tests weren't covered. He didn't want to tell Mom because she'd panic. He was just hoping I could help for now, just to get the test done sooner. How much? I asked. He hesitated a bit, like he didn't want to say it out loud. About 2,500, he finally said. Maybe a bit more, depending on what they want to do. I told him I'd send $3,000 to be safe. I didn't ask for proof. Didn't request receipts. He's my brother, 2 years younger. We fought over PlayStation controllers and cereal as kids, but I always had his back, especially after Dad passed. We weren't rich, but I had some savings. He knew that. He promised he'd pay me back once he figured everything out. Said it was probably nothing. Could just be migraines, but they want to rule out worse stuff, he said. It's just temporary, bro. I sent the money that night. He messaged me the next morning, said thank you, and promised to keep me posted. Then I didn't hear from him for 4 days. When I finally texted to ask how the test went, he replied with something vague like, waiting on results? They're being slow. I told him to call me when he had updates. He said he would. That pattern continued for the next 2 weeks. I'd check in. He'd answer, but short. Still waiting. Docs are weird. Insurance stuff sucks. Always something vague enough that I didn't want to press. I didn't want to be the guy who doubted his own brother when he was possibly dealing with a brain tumor. But something felt wrong. Not big and dramatic, just off. Like the way he didn't mention which hospital he went to. Or how every time I asked about the doctor's name or if he needed help getting a second opinion, he'd change the subject. Once he replied with a meme. A meme. In the middle of a conversation about his health. Then came the second ask. He called in the middle of the week, early evening. Sounded a little more upbeat, but I chalked it up to him feeling hopeful. Hey man, so there's a specialist they're recommending now, he said. They think I should get a nerve conduction test or something. It's not covered. Can you help just one more time? How much? I asked again. He said around $800. It's not much, he added quickly. I'll figure out the rest, but even half of that would help. I hesitated for a second, not because I didn't want to help, but because something in his voice sounded too smooth, like a rehearsed pitch. Still, I sent him $500 that night. 2 days later, I saw an Instagram story. It wasn't posted by him. It was his friend's account, one I only followed because we'd all gone to a concert once years ago. In the background, I saw my brother, smiling, laughing, holding a drink at a rooftop bar in downtown. He looked fine. No signs of illness, no exhaustion. Dressed well, new hoodie, fresh haircut. I stared at that story for a long time. It didn't say anything right away. Maybe it was old. Maybe it was just one good night out in the middle of a bad month. Maybe, and I clung to this, maybe it was all still true. I waited another week. Then I texted him again. He replied with a thumbs up emoji. That's it. The next day, I got a Venmo request from him. $100. The caption said, "You the best." No explanation, no context, just that. I didn't reply. I didn't send it. But I also didn't confront him. Not yet. It wasn't until I got a call from my mom that things started to unravel. She called to say my brother had just been by. Apparently stopped in to say hi and left in a hurry. He looked good, she said. Said he might go on a trip with a friend soon, get some fresh air. I think he really needed that. I asked her if he told her anything about his health. She paused. Number why? Is he sick? I told her I wasn't sure anymore. That night, I went online and checked his other socials. Stuff he hadn't blocked me from. Found a new profile picture. He was holding a brand new PlayStation 5 controller. The caption? Self-care season. There's a moment when you stop wondering and start knowing. You know you've been lied to. You know you won't get that money back. You just don't know how far the lie goes. Or why it was you. After seeing the PlayStation post, I didn't message him. I waited. 3 full days. No check-in from him. No updates. No, hey, got the test results. Or just wanted to say thanks. Nothing. On the 4th day, I finally broke and called. He didn't answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. Then I texted, call me when you get a sec. He replied 2 hours later, hey, can't talk RN, what's up? What's up? What's up is I've sent you almost $3,500 thinking you might be seriously sick, and now you're buying game consoles and going on rooftop dates like nothing happened. But I didn't say that. Not yet. Instead, I wrote, how are you feeling? He replied with a shrug emoji and about the same. That was when it hit me. The lie was still going. He was still pretending. I didn't respond. Later that week, I stopped by Mom's again. I didn't plan on bringing it up, but she mentioned him. He got a new phone, I think, she said. He showed me some photos, but I didn't recognize the number he was texting from. New phone, new hoodie, new PlayStation. Supposedly sick and broke, but somehow upgrading his entire setup. I finally asked casually, did he tell you what kind of tests he did? He told me it was something with neurology. Mom frowned. Number? He didn't say anything about tests. Is something wrong? And again, I just said, not sure yet. That night, I called him again. He picked up this time. Sounded half asleep or pretending to be. Hey, he said. What's going on? I've been trying to reach you, I said. You okay? Yeah, just been out of it lately. You still waiting on results? There was a pause, just long enough to confirm everything. Yeah, he said, dragging the word out. They're supposed to call me back this week. Which hospital did you go to again? Another pause. The one near the freeway. You know, the urgent care there. They do MRIs now? He hesitated. No, they referred me somewhere else. Can't remember the name. Downtown something. I didn't push further. I let the silence do the work. You think I'm making it up or something? He asked, but his voice changed. Defensive, not offended. I don't know what to think, I said. Dude, why are you being weird? I saw your post. That shut him up. PlayStation, the bar, the trip with Alyssa, the new phone. You've been doing fine. More silence. Then, the most irritating sentence anyone can say in a moment like that. Don't make this a big thing. I felt my jaw clench. You asked me for money for medical tests, and then you posted a picture of yourself unboxing a $500 console. It wasn't $500. I don't care how much it was. It's not what you think. Then explain it. Another silence. Then, I just needed help, okay? I was going through stuff. It's not like I was scamming you or something. You lied to me. I didn't lie. You said you might have neurological issues, that you needed help paying for scans. And now you're saying what? That wasn't true? He exhaled. I didn't say it like that. You let me believe something was wrong with you. You let me panic. I didn't ask you to panic. You didn't stop me either. I didn't think it would blow up like this, he mumbled. You mean you didn't think I'd ask questions? I told you it was temporary. I just needed a break. Some stuff to feel normal again. Is that really so bad? I didn't even know what to say to that. He kept talking. I wasn't trying to screw you over, man. I just needed space to breathe. I was broke. I felt stuck. Everyone thinks I'm a failure. I just wanted to not feel like trash for once. So you told your brother you were sick, he snapped. I didn't tell you I was dying, okay? You just assumed. That's how you framed it. You talked about scans and tests and insurance. You let me believe you were seriously unwell. You manipulated me. He didn't respond. So I said the thing I'd been holding back for weeks. I don't want the money back. I want my respect back. He laughed, this short, bitter laugh. Bro, you think I care about your respect? And that's when I knew he didn't feel bad. Not really. Not in the way I'd hoped. Maybe a little embarrassed, maybe annoyed he got caught. But guilty? Regretful? Number. He saw what he did as necessary, even justified. He ended the call himself. Look, I gotta go. I'll text you later. He didn't, and I didn't reach out again. Not for a long time. After that last phone call, I didn't message him again. I didn't block him. I didn't rage or post about it online. I just stopped. Stopped trying. Stopped waiting for apologies or explanations. Not out of spite, not out of pride. I just didn't see the point anymore. There's a line people cross that you can't uncross. You can pretend to. You can fake it for the holidays or make small talk at birthdays. But once you see someone for who they really are, what they're willing to do when they think they're entitled to your trust, that's it. And that was it for me. The weird thing was how normal everything looked after. Our mom kept talking about him like nothing had changed. Said he'd drop by, helped her carry groceries, watched some Netflix with her. She asked if I'd seen him lately. I said no. She didn't push. Maybe she knew. Maybe she didn't want to know. Parents are like that sometimes. They'll ignore the explosion if it means the wall stays standing. A couple weeks later, I stopped by to help her with some stuff around the house. Nothing serious, just fixing a cabinet door, moving some boxes. That's when I noticed a huge flat screen TV sitting in her living room. It was brand new. Still had the sticker on the side. I asked casually, "You get a new TV?" She shook her head. "Your brother brought it over, said it was on sale." Crazy deal. Of course. He had money for a brand new television, but not for rent. Not for food. Not for anything except temporary help for medical tests. That night I went home and opened a blank document. I wrote everything out. Not as some dramatic letter or guilt trip. Just facts. The total amount of money I gave him. The specific dates I transferred it. Screenshots of his messages. The exact phrases he used. Timeline of what he posted afterward. New phone, bar night, PlayStation, trip photos, and now apparently a massive TV. I printed the pages out and slid them into a plain folder. Next time I visited our mom, I left it on the kitchen counter before leaving. No speech, no confrontation. Just a note on top that read, "I'm not asking you to pick sides. I'm just letting you know why I won't be around as much anymore." A week later, she called me. Her voice was soft. "I read everything," she said. "It hurt to read, but I'm glad you told me." "It hurt to live through," I replied. She didn't defend him, but she didn't condemn him either. She said she loved us both and that one day we'd talk things out. Just not now. I didn't argue. Later that evening, I saw his name light up on my phone. Incoming call, I let it ring. He tried again about an hour later. I let that one ring too. Then came the message. "Seriously? Can you at least talk like an adult? This is getting stupid." That was the last thing I saw from him. I didn't delete the message. Didn't block him. Just turned off notifications. I didn't care anymore. Not in a cold, angry way. Just numb. He faded out of my life like background noise I stopped noticing. I didn't ask about him. I didn't tell people what happened. The people who mattered already knew. The rest wouldn't care. I did hear things, though. Someone mentioned he was crashing at Mom's place again. That he hadn't found a stable job. That he'd gotten into it with one of his old friends over money drama. None of it surprised me. A few months later, I ran into a mutual acquaintance at a coffee shop. Someone who used to be close to him. She asked if we were still tight. I said, "Not really." She raised an eyebrow. "That's too bad. I always thought you two were close." "We were," I said. "Then we weren't." She didn't ask for details. That's the thing about real falling outs. People can feel when the story's not meant to be shared over lattes. I went home that night and thought about everything again. Not in a bitter way, more like revisiting an old injury. Something healed enough that it doesn't ache anymore, but you can still feel the scar if you press on it. I still had the payment receipts in my email. Still had the texts, still had the screenshots. But I never looked at them. I didn't want revenge. Didn't want some dramatic showdown. I just wanted space. Distance. Clarity? And I had all three. Funny thing is, I don't even miss him. Not the version of him that did this. If he ever becomes someone else, someone honest, someone who understands what he did, maybe I'll hear him out. But I'm not holding my breath. I learned something from this. Not a lesson, exactly. Just a fact. Family isn't sacred. Trust is. You can be related by blood and still be miles apart in how you treat people. I would have given him that money with no questions asked if he'd just been honest. If he'd said, I'm broke, I feel like crap. I want to buy myself something to feel okay again. I probably still would have sent something. Maybe not as much, but at least then he wouldn't have needed to lie. He didn't take my money. He took my respect. And that cost more than any transfer I ever made. I don't regret helping. I regret who I helped. But now I know better. And knowing is the only closure I'm ever going to get.